Okay, we're going to continue doing the S1, S2 review. We've already done page 1, and now we're going to do page 2. Before we get started, I'm going to talk about the half sheet I gave you guys. These are the formulas for this part of the chapter. You may want to hit pause and copy this down. So the thing you need to know is that sine rule, we're going to be using it when we've got angle, angle, side, or when we've got side, side, angle. Okay? And the cosine rule, we're going to be using it when we have side, angle, side, or when we have side, side, side. Okay, let's talk about cosine rules first. So if I've got side, 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 that means I have all three sides, lowercase a, lowercase b, lowercase c. And so you should be able to recognize that we're going to use this formula because it has all the lowercase letters here, and we're trying to solve for angle C. If I've got side angle side, then I've got the situation where I've got my included angle. That's the angle between the two sides we know when we're working with. We know when we're working with these two pink sides, and we're trying to find the side that's farthest away from my included angle. This one here, it's farthest away, and so that we use this formula. Now, angle, angle, side. So basically, if I know this angle and the side that's not in between the two angles, or let's just say I've got side, side, angle. So I know this side and this side, but I don't know the angle in between the two. Then you're going to be able to say, okay, look, I'm going to use the sine rule. Okay. So, and then also, lastly, area of a triangle. We've got the two sides on either side of the included angle. Okay, so let's like I said, hit pause if you want to copy this onto your half sheet, and so let's continue with our review. Okay, so this is the one that we did at during our um, whiteboard task. Okay, and so the thing you need to remember is the first thing they want you to determine the angle of depression. Okay, so the angle of depression from camera 1. So basically, if you're looking out here and then you're depressed, you're looking down. So this angle of depression, this is the angle of depression. So if I'm here at camera at the camera and I'm looking down, this is my angle of depression. A lot of people want to think that this is the angle of depression. It's not. This is not the angle of depression. It's from looking at straight out from the spot and looking down. Now, the thing you should recognize here is this dotted line, this red line here, and this red line here, those are parallel lines. So it should make sense that this line right here is also going to be the same because those are alternate interior angles. Okay, so now I'm going to look at this picture, and I know from here to here is 1. So I'm going to just write this over here too. This is a 1 unit high. Now, it says somewhere that the cameras are the same height. So from here to here is 3.1. From here to here is also 3.1. Okay? So, sorry, it's 2.1. Oopsies. Right, that's 2.1 because these have to add up to 3.1. Okay, so now we're trying to determine the angle of depression. So basically, if I look at this triangle and I want to find the blue angle there, and I know this is 2.1, and I know that's 2.8. I know this is opposite, and this is the hypotenuse. So if I'm doing opposite and hypotenuse, think SOHCAHTOA. And if you're thinking SOHCAHTOA, opposite and hypotenuse, we're going to use sine. So I can write sine theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, so 2.1 divided by 2.8, and then I get 2.1 divided by 2.8, and then I get this decimal 0.75. Now, some people seem to get a little confused at this point. So this ratio decimal helps us get the angle. What we have to do is we have to find the inverse of this. So I can write sine with the little -1 power there of 0.75, and this is going to help me get the angle. Okay, so how do I push this into the calculator? So what I'm going to have to do is I have to hit the second button and sine. So I'm going to hit the blue second button, and I'm going to hit sine right there. And then I've got that, and now I'm going to put 0.75, and then I hit enter, and now it tells me that the angle is 48.6 degrees. Okay. Before we get started, you should always make sure you're in the correct mode. So if I hit mode, you're going to look here and you can see, okay, it says degrees, so I'm in the correct mode. If you're in HL class, sometimes you use radian and go back and forth. So second mode gets me out of that view. Okay, so we've got our angle here. Okay. Question B, calculate the distance from camera 2 to the center of the cash register. Okay, so we're going to have to use Pythagorean theorem twice in this problem. Okay, so in order to do this, so think of this first triangle here. Okay, I'm just going to call that x for right now. We know this is 2.1, and we know this is 2.8. And so we need to figure out this length here. Once we figure out this length here, because first we're trying to get the distance from camera 2 to the center of the cash register. So here's the cash register, here's camera 2. We're trying to figure out, I'm going to call this W. Okay, we're trying to figure out this length here. So first we need to figure out this one here. Then I can figure out this one here, I'm going to call it Y. We can use this value, 6.4 minus this value is going to give me this guy here. And we know if this is 3.1, this is going to be 2.1 from here to here. And then we can use Pythagorean theorem again to find this one here. So let's step one at a time. We're going to find this length here. We know this is 2.1 and that's 2.8. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So I'm going to do x squared plus 2.1 squared equals 2.8 squared. So I'm going to get x squared plus 4.41 equals 7.84. Okay, and then I can subtract 4.41 on both sides. And then I'm going to get x squared equals 7.84 minus 4.41, and I'm going to get 3.43. And now we have one more step to figure out x. We have to take the square root. So x is the square root of 3.43. So we're going to get, square root. Where is that? I'm going to push second, and then the square root button is this one right here with the little x squared. So I'm going to push this button right here. Okay, and now I'm going to put 3.43. Okay, hit pause anytime you need to for extra time. And I get 1.852. 1.852. Try not to round too soon. The only time you do the three significant figures is at the very, very end of what you're doing. Okay, so now I know this distance here is 1.852. Okay. Okay, 1.852. Okay, so now to figure out this side here, I'm going to get this here, I'm going to do uh, 6.4 minus 1.852. And that's going to give me y. So 6.4 minus, rather than typing all that in, I can hit second and this little negative power thing here, and that's going to say answer. So 6.4 minus the answer, I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to get 4.5479, whatever. So 4.547, let's just call it 8. Okay. Okay, so that's the distance. I'm going to color it orange right here. This value right there is 4.548. Okay, so now the final step is we're trying to figure out this length right here. Okay, so I'm just going to redraw the triangle. Okay, and so this is 4.548, right? And this is, I'm just calling it W, and this height we know is 2.1. And once again, I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem. So 4.548 squared plus 2.1 squared equals W squared. Okay. So now, so I don't need to retype this. I can say that value. Let's see. That value squared is 20.68. 20.684 plus, okay, 2.1 squared is 4.41, and that gets me W squared. So now I add those things together. 20.684, and then I get 25.09. So W squared equals 25.094. And I can take the square root of that. Second answer, enter. And the square root of that is 5.009. So I'm going to get W equals 5.01. Okay. Okay, without further calculation, determine which camera has the largest angle of depression. Okay, so I want you to think of it this way. Okay, so if I've got this triangle, I'm going to draw them kind of exaggerated. This is this particular height, and I've got another triangle. This is really long ramp, but they're the same height. So which one, so the angle of depression is this angle coming down, right? So these are my angle of depression. So which one has the steeper slope? This one has the steeper slope. And if it's got a steeper slope, then this is going to be a bigger angle. This has got a small slope, so it's going to have a smaller angle. So now if I go back to my picture, this one, this is a shorter distance than this orange line. So this one is going to have a steeper slope, so camera 1 is going to have the largest angle. So camera 1 has the largest angle of depression because it has the steepest slope. Okay, that's it. I'm going to do each page with a different video. So this is it for page 2.